like to welcome you to the May 27th, 2025 meeting of the City Planning Commission. Before we begin, I will outline the procedure that we will follow for our public hearing. As each agenda item is called, the applicant or their representative or people for the request will be allowed to speak. Then people against the request will be allowed to speak. If there is opposition to the request, the applicant will be allowed to make a short rebuttal. All people wishing to speak need to come to the microphone at the front of the room and please state your name and address for the record. All statements made should be relevant to the agenda item and be limited to 3 minutes. If there are several people in favor or opposed to a request, we encourage you to allow 1 or 2 people to act as a spokesperson for the group. While public discourse is very important to the Commission, we have to maintain order in the meeting so that all people may be heard and city business may be conducted. If so directed by me, the Sergeant at Arms shall remove from this meeting anybody that becomes unruly or prevents us from conducting an orderly meeting. The recommendations we make tonight will be based on the work session as well as any additional information presented tonight. After completing the hearing on each item, the Commission will consider action on the item, and the action taken tonight on all items, excluding plats, will be in the form of a recommendation to City Council. City Council will also conduct public hearings on all items, excluding plats, on Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025, in the Bosque Theater of the Waco Convention Center, 100 Washington Avenue. The first item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes of our April 22nd, 2025 work session and business meetings. Are there any changes or additions? Okay, seeing none, they will stand approved as written. The first item on our agenda tonight is the subdivision and preliminary plat of the Cotton Belt Crossing. City staff, what is your recommendation?
Mr. Chair, members of the Commission, Agenda Item 1 is a 3-part request to consider preliminary plat of the Cotton Belt Crossing addition, which includes variance requests from block and cul-de-sac length requirements, requiring a separate vote by the Plan Commission. The 2 variances can be acted on together. This preliminary plat was originally considered at the March 25th, 2025 Plan Commission meeting, at which it was recommended to approve with conditions. The applicant has submitted a revised preliminary plat in response to the imposed conditions. The development consists of 1,197 residential lots distributed between 5 phases. Property is currently located within the ETJ with plans to annex the property into the City of Waco. The applicant has made substantial revisions to the preliminary plat in response to the city's concerns. There are still some pending items that need further correction, but nothing that would substantially change the overall street and lot layout. The comments are addressed in the review letter attached. The first public hearing action is to consider a subdivision variance request to the block length requirements per the Waco Subdivision Ordinance Appendix B, Section 6201, and to the cul-de-sac length requirements per Section 5201I of said subdivision ordinance for the preliminary plat of the Cotton Belt Crossing addition. Upon review, staff recommends approval based on the findings that the effect of the variance will not be detrimental to the public safety, health, welfare, or injurious to other property, and 2, the conditions upon which the requests for variance are based are unique to the subdivision under consideration and are not generally applicable to other properties. Planning staff recommends approval of the subdivision variances with the following conditions. 1, perpendicular pedestrian sidewalk connections at mid-block to be built as part of subdivision infrastructure, not the responsibility of home builder. The location to be determined at final plat. Number 2, pedestrian sidewalk connection from the end of the cul-de-sac to the trail along Lupine Parkway to be built as part of the subdivision infrastructure, not the responsibility of the home builder. Location to be determined at final plat. And 3, a note shall be added to the preliminary plat and final plats referencing the variance if approved.
Thank you. Is the applicant or their representative here to speak on behalf of this item? Please just state your name and address.
Hi, my name's Adrienne Donatucci. Address is 109 West 2nd Street, Georgetown, Texas. I'm the Land Development Manager for WBW Development. I'm just here to say that staff captured our request for the variance, and if you all have any questions for the applicant, I can answer them, but I have nothing more to really add than what our request was.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of this item? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and first entertain a motion on the subdivision variance.
Mr. Chair, move to approve. Yes, second.
Motion by Mr. Vickers, second by Mr. Embry. Please poll the commission.
Embry? Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Ingram,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Salome? Smith,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Cole?
Yes. And we will now entertain a motion on the preliminary plat.
The second public hearing action item, Agenda 1, is to consider the preliminary plat of Cotton Belt Crossing Addition. Planning Services recommends approval with conditions of the preliminary plat of Cotton Belt Crossing, subject to the variance as approved, and all conditions outlined in the preliminary plat review letter dated May 22nd, 2025.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to say anything else on this item? Perfect. Anyone else in opposition to this item? Okay, we will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the preliminary plat with conditions in accordance with the city staff findings.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lane, second by Mr. Embry. Please poll the commission.
Embry,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Ingram,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Cole?
Yes. Moving on to zoning applications, item Z-25-19. What is city staff's recommendation?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a public hearing from Kara Costello of CenterPoint Integrated Solutions on behalf of CarMax Auto Superstores, Inc. for a special permit to allow automobile sales in an M2 light industrial district on property described as approximately 4.70 acres of land situated in the Carlos Ocampo Survey, abstract number 32, City of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, out of a called 152.71 acre tract of land being generally located approximately 800 feet south of the intersection of Vista View Drive and southbound I-35 access road, property ID 415554. Staff mailed out 5 notices and received 0 returned at the time of report preparation. Planning Services recommends approval of the special permit, subject to the special provisions and conditions and based on the following findings. 1, that the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan. 2, that the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area in which it is located. 3, that the proposed use would not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics than any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of a special exception. 4, the available community facilities and services, including the road systems providing access to the proposed use, are adequate for the proposed use. These findings are required for the granting of a special permit as per section 28-122, the City of Waco zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Is the applicant or their representative here to speak on behalf of this item?
Good evening, members of the commission. My name's David Dixon. I live at 5500 Pointwood Circle in Waco. I'm an attorney with the Beard, Colchin Law Firm, and I'm happy to represent CarMax Auto Superstore here tonight. I've worked with these people now for several months. They put together an excellent team of urban planners, engineers, property development people to come up with the site plan we have. As noted, this will be on the southbound frontage road of I-35 and a part of the larger Gateway subdivision that's going into that area. We have worked closely with city staff, and I would like to say we appreciate the staff and thank you for your vote of confidence in our plan. I'm excited to have a small part in bringing this entity to do business in Waco. If you look at CarMax on their website, you'll see numerous civic awards that they have won. And most importantly, the one that got my attention is for each of the last 20 years, Fortune magazine has ranked them in the top 100 places to work in the United States. So I think the 22 or so employees that we will hire will have a good employer, and they'll be a benefit to the community. Here tonight with me is Kristen Cowan, who is the managing developer from CenterPoint Integral Solutions in Denver, Colorado, and she has been in charge of this development thus far. If you have any questions, we also have Peyton McNeil here. He is an engineer with Basin Engineering in New Orleans, Louisiana, and he's here available for questions also. And I think Ms. Cowan has a brief presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. My name is Kristen Cowan. I'm the development manager on behalf of CarMax. I reside at 1626 Cole Boulevard in Lakewood, Colorado. Also joined along with our engineer, Peyton, is our actual development manager with CarMax, Bradley Escobar. And we're very glad to be here and appreciate staff and commissioners' time. I did put together a presentation reiterating the staff findings, the location. I can go through the site plan if the commission would like, but otherwise I do appreciate staff's recommendation and the commissioner's consideration of our application for this proposed 4.74 acre property off of the I-35 South frontage road. It consists of a sales display that will be off of the frontage road, as well as customer employee parking, as well as a sales building and service building. CarMax is so excited to locate here in Waco. There are several other CarMax locations around Texas, and we thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of this item? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Okay, hearing none, we will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Move that we approve based on staff findings.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Smith, second by Ms. Givens. Please poll the commission.
Embry?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Ingram?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes. Item Z-25-20, what is city staff's recommendation?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a public hearing from Kathy Wise, Mission World Inc. for renewal of a special permit for a transitional shelter 2 in an O3 district on property described as Lot 15, Block 5 of the West End Addition, known as 2324 Gorman Avenue. Property ID is 414350. Staff mailed out 31 notices and received 0 return at the time of report preparation. Planning Services recommends approval of the special permit subject to the special provisions and conditions and based on the following findings. 1, that the proposed use is consistent with the comprehensive plan. 2, that the proposed use is compatible with the appropriate and orderly development of the area in which it is located. 3, that the proposed use would not be more objectionable to neighboring properties because of traffic congestion, noise, fumes, vibrations, or any other characteristics than any use permitted in the zoning district without the grant of a special exception. 4, the available community facilities and services, including the road system providing access to the proposed use, are adequate for the proposed use. These findings are required for granting of a special permit as per section 28-122 of the City of Waco zoning ordinances. Staff recommends the provisions and conditions noted under the special provisions and conditions section of this report. Staff is recommending the renewal of the special permit for a period of 5 years.
Thank you. Is the applicant or their representative here to speak on behalf of this item? I'm here. Do you have any questions? Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to recommend approval. Second.
Motion by Mr. Embry, second by Mr. Vickers. Please poll the commission.
Embry?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Ingram?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Salome? Yes. Smith?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes. For item Z-25-22, what is city staff's recommendation?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a public hearing from Armando Almos on a request to rezone from M3 General Industrial District to O3 Office Limited Commercial District for property described as Lot 23, Block 1, the J.I. Moore addition located 250 feet west of the intersection of South 18th Street and Webster Avenue, known as 1905 Webster Avenue. Property ID 182299. Staff mailed out 27 notices and received 0 return at the time of report preparation. Planning Services recommends approval of this request to change the zoning from M3 to O3 based on the following findings. 1, the proposed zoning is in keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan, bringing the zoning in line with the current office industrial flex designation. 2, the public infrastructure is adequate to provide for the uses allowed in the O3 zoning district. 3, the property meets all area and width requirements of the O3 zoning district. 4, there is O3 in the vicinity of the subject property. 5, office and commercial uses permitted within O3 could operate as a buffer between the residential uses located to the southeast and the industrial zoning toward the north and west of the property.
Thank you. Is the applicant or their representative here to speak on behalf of this item? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I recommend that we approve it subject to the staff's conditions, findings.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Givens, a second by Mr. Lane. Please poll the commission.
Embry?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Ingram?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes. For item Z-25-24, what is city staff's recommendation?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a public hearing from Adrian Donatucci on behalf of WBW Single Development Group LLC Series 110 on a request to change the land use designation from urban residential to medium-density residential office flex and to rezone from R1B Single Family Residence District to R3B Multiple Family Residence District for approximately 2.763 acres described as Lot 59, Block 16, the Park Meadows Phase 2 Addition, property ID 416268, and being located approximately 1,300 feet southwest of the intersection of Ritchie Road and Warren Road. Staff mailed out 48 notices and received 2 returned to post at the time of report preparation. Planning Services recommends approval of this request to change the land use plan from urban residential to medium-density residential office flex based on the following findings. 1, the existing and planned public infrastructure is sufficient to support the zoning district permitted under the proposed medium-density residential office flex land use designation. 2, the property is adjacent to property designated as medium-density residential office flex. 3, the subject property is adjacent to a planned collector which is conducive to a higher density land designation rather than single-family development. Planning Services recommends approval of the request to change the zoning from R1B to R3B based on the following findings. 1, the proposed zoning aligns with the land use component of the comprehensive plan as amended. 2, the property meets the area and width requirements for the R3B zoning district. 3, the existing and planned infrastructure is adequate to accommodate the uses permitted in the R3B zoning district. 4, the densities and uses permitted within the R3B district may provide a buffer between the planned collector road and the existing single-family development. 5, the building height requirements and setback requirements of the R3B district are equivalent to the adjacent R1B height and setback requirements. 6, the proposed zoning supports the goals of the Waco Strategic Housing Plan by increasing the supply and density of residentially zoned properties, thus enhancing opportunities for new housing development. 7, R3B zoning is present in the vicinity of the subject property, including consistency with the surrounding area.
Thank you. Is the applicant or their representative here to speak on behalf of this item?
Hello, Adrian Donatucci, 109 West 2nd Street, Georgetown, Texas. I am the land development manager for WBW Development. We have done all of the land development for Park Meadows to date. Staff did a great job at introducing our item and explaining what we are requesting for the rezoning of our 2.7 acre site from R1B to R3B. just to add a little detail, I'll be really short and brief because I know that they described a lot of what I'm about to say. But WBW has dedicated or is dedicating 2.5 acres of land for the realignment of Warren Road. We are going to be constructing that. We have construction plans that have been submitted and reviewed by the city. We're currently working on a road agreement with the city to construct that realignment. So as far as timing on why now for the rezoning of this parcel, as you could probably see from some of those maps, this parcel has no access into the subdivision as it stands right now. And Warren Road, as you see on this plat, is not constructed right now. It is just on Old Warren Road. So there is access onto Old Warren Road, but if this site were to be developed now, there would be disruption when the realignment of the road were to come online. So we've left it undeveloped to date, knowing that the Warren Road construction is going to be starting here in the near future. The large 17-acre parcel is being developed by others under the same zoning. It's being developed under R3B, and they're getting ready and working with the city right now through planning. So we are going to be putting that road online and working with them as they develop their parcel, and we're developing the road here. So we feel that the request for this zoning to match what is being developed on the other side of Warren Road is a good use, and that's what we're asking for. And we think that, you know, coming down the Warren Road, once it is redeveloped, it would be nice to see a matching zoning, maybe used for townhouses, duplexes, something like that. And as mentioned, as far as setbacks and height restrictions, they match what the single-family residential is. So there's not going to be anything there that would be of greater height looking over on the single-family residential, and it will meet similar setbacks as the single-family residential as well. So nothing that will be sitting up against any backyards or side yards. So I'm here to answer any questions.
I've got a question for you. So I know when we looked at the work session, the original preliminary plat, this road construction was considered even back then. Why, if this was always planned, would we have not looked at zoning this as R3 with this maybe multifamily development back then, as opposed to why are we doing it now, I guess is my question. We always knew the road was going to be here.
And to answer your question, I don't necessarily. It seems to be, honestly, an oversight because the 17-acre parcel, it should have all happened at once, to be quite honest. You know, bifurcating those properties with that road would only make sense to do that. You know, obviously, if we intended it to be single-family, there would have been an access throughway in that subdivision. So the only answer I could really tell you is that it was likely an oversight at that point in time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of this item? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Please just approach the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Dennis Watkins, reside at 11312 Celestial Court, Lorena. So I'm one of the number 23, I guess. So this was all news to us, of course, when we got the notice in the mail. And the first thing, I did send an email to the Planning Commission because I didn't know this was an event where I could get up and speak for a couple minutes. I did want to point out of the 12 lots that back up to this 2.7 acres, only 6 of those are occupied right now. The other 6 are either an empty lot or houses are being built. So you're not going to get a lot of homeowners on the other side of the fence to come out and speak up against this. One of my concerns is why now 100% of Park Meadows is zoned single family? So why this 2.7 acres needs to be changed? Why not leave it the way it is? So what concerns me and other homeowners that back up to this, if they do townhouses or duplexes, to me, that means there's parking lot there. You know, is there going to be a parking lot right up the back of my fence? You know, when we closed on our home last year with Stylecraft, you know, had we known at the time, if we known this was going to be brought up and changed to, you know, the RB3, we probably would have looked for a different lot in our development. So lots of questions. So at what point will we know what is it they want to build there? So what comes first, the horse or the cart? Do you approve the rezoning and then they show up and tell us what they're going to build there? I'd like to know what they're going to plan to build there before you approve the rezoning. I mean, doesn't that make sense? Let's see. Lots of questions. How many stories, how many units? Will these be rentals? What will the parking lot be? What will the lighting be? Will there be a buffer between, you know, the houses there, number 20, 21, 22, 23, 24? The timeline. I find it interesting that they're also the developer of the curvature of the road. Sadly, for the folks in the development there, unfortunately, Stylecraft Homes has been misled because everybody that lives on that street was told that that was going to be green space. So, so much for that. You know, my wife and I, we don't have a problem if it stayed zoned the way it was and we have a single-family home back up to us. Let's do it. But to now change it to an apartment in the middle with parking lot, that really concerns us. So thank you very much.
Sure, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am.
My name's Christina Outmore. I live at 3109 Reisinger Road, Lorena, Texas. That's there in Park Meadows. I am not one of the properties that backs up to this acreage here, but I am a member of that same neighborhood, which is Park Meadows. And I would like to recommend that you do not approve the rezoning of this, mainly because a lot of the things that were mentioned regarding the building of whatever's going to happen, maybe townhomes or apartments or what have you, office space, something like that, it's going to cause a lot of congestion there on Warren Road. I know there's talk about expanding it. Ritchie Road is already congested, especially during the school year. There's a school not barely 2 miles from our neighborhood, and this neighborhood is full of families, full of children, people going to work. So during the fall, if this turns into maybe multiple family units, the school that's less than 2 miles from there, the elementary school, is already at capacity. There's students in our neighborhood that do not go to that school because they have already had to be shifted off to some of the other neighboring schools in the district. And a lot of people chose to live here so that their children could go to that school. So if there are going to be multiple family unit homes there, those kids aren't probably not going to be able to go to Park Hill Elementary there. So that's a reason, as a parent of young children, that we think this is not going to work out. Also, just like my neighbor said earlier, many of us purchased our homes here within the last 5 years, and it was certainly with the idea this was going to be a neighborhood full of, single-family homes and no, partial office buildings, anything like that, or townhomes, apartments. I like the idea of Warren Road being improved, but I think there's other avenues that we can do to make that happen, and the people of Park Meadows are probably more than happy to petition for something like that to happen for us. But the people that live on this part of Park Meadows, they don't have a green space. On the side that I live on, we do, but that's quite a little ways. It's a big neighborhood for them to get to, and it's not convenient, and they actually have higher HOA dues than we do, and they don't even have a green space, a park for their children. So that's the bulk of my concerns, but also what my neighbor stated earlier, you know, those are very valid concerns from many of our neighbors as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Okay, hearing.
Chair, I do have a question, and it's probably a little late. It'll be for Ms. Donna Tucci. Is it okay if I have her come back up?
Yep.
I have a question for you. Thank you. Are you aware, or has WBW, have they met with the residents in this neighborhood to give them your proposed plan for that, lot 59, and what you want to develop it into?
No, we have not. We are just seeking the rezoning right now. We have no direct plans. We have had some conversations with some of our single-family builders within the development that are interested in doing some townhouses here. But because of, you know, going into engineering plans and planning can be timely and costly, we usually seek our zoning before going, you know, we'll have some preliminary conversations. So that's where we are right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a follow-up question to that. I get what you're saying about putting the cart before the horse, but would you guys be open to having a conversation with the homeowners association or being present in one of their meetings so that you could specifically hear their concerns so that perhaps you could potentially address those in your plans if the rezone is granted, or tell them ways in which you have remedied concerns like that with other developments?
You know, yeah, I guess there's no issue with that, except for we are seeking this to move forward. The road plans, at least from what I heard, that's a request of the city, so that's not something that we're in control of. They're asking us to do that. We're moving forward with that as a request to the city. So our objective here was, as we were developing the roads, to move forward with planning on this site as well. And I guess from some of the concerns that I heard as far as, you know, schools and density and things like that, they could be addressed. It's just, I know that with the 2.7 acre site and looking at the zoning and the density, it could not feasibly fit more than what is allowed, than 35 units. And given the, I guess, the structure of the site, we know that it couldn't fit that. So I guess there's some things, you know, we could give some information out to the HOA. I just know as far as the school would go, looking at the Texas census and how many students per household, we would be looking at probably 18 to 20 students, you know, assuming this was built out at 35 homes, something like that. So I don't know if it's, you know, something where we just sent out some information. I know there was concerns about parking lots. There would be no back parking lots. If you look at R3, you know, look at the zoning for this, there are strict stipulations on setbacks, and, you know, they're similar to the single family as well. So I guess some of the concerns that are being brought up are really outlined in the zoning, but we could send some information out.
Do we know for a fact that Park Meadows does have an HOA?
Yes.
Park Meadows does. There's two separate HOAs, because there was an initial Park Meadows, phase 1 through 5, and then what we call Park Meadows South, and so there's 1 through 3.
In good standing and in meeting and have channels of communication?
Yes, there is. We have two HOA management companies, two separate HOA management companies, and typically there's blast rate. For example, right now, phase 3 of South is being site developed. So, we have Warren Road, there's going to be a traffic plan that was communicated to the HOA, that gets blasted out. Now, that the 17-acre parcel was sold off, so that is being developed out under the medium-density zoning, and that we have no control over. That was sold off by us, and we closed on that recently. So we can't do anything about that. Those plans have been submitted to the city, and that development is moving forward, and that's directly on the other side of Warren Road, which is the trigger for Warren Road's construction.
How many acres?
17.9, 17 point something.
And it's the same, it's R3B.
Yes, it is the same. And I can't speak for them. Maybe staff has some more information. I believe a preliminary plat was submitted, not yet approved, but they are moving forward with their plans.
Any other questions?
If I can speak a little bit to the folks that spoke in opposition, I also live in Park Meadows, so I'm sensitive to those concerns as well. Mr. Watkins, to your question about whether we can consider the use that is going to be used in this scenario, unfortunately, that's something we can't consider because we don't know if it's, if they may have plans, but what if those plans have to change and they sell it to another developer? It could be something else. And so what we're supposed to consider is any possible use under this zoning. So with that in mind, I kind of wanted to ask the city staff if you could give us some examples of uses under R3B that could potentially go in this zone if it was changed.
Yeah, we can definitely kind of go through those. So I believe one of the questions was an office use. That's not necessarily something that would be permitted in R3B zoning. This is just kind of a general purpose. R3B district is intended to provide for development of townhouses and other types of multifamily dwellings as a moderate density in proximity to single-family residential areas or in locations with natural topographic or other site features are suitable for development as a higher density. So permitted uses are single-family dwellings, two-family dwellings, duplexes, townhouse, obviously multifamily. Basically, as far as residential is concerned, there's that's the limit. There's some other uses that aren't necessarily practical, golf courses, things like that, but nothing in terms of commercial types of uses that would be permitted with this rezone.
And for things like the townhomes, is there a limit on the density that could be put in an R3B?
Yeah, so in let's see, for one family attached, it's 10.89 dwelling units per acre. Two family is 14.52 dwelling units per acre. Townhouse, 12.96 dwelling units per acre. And multifamily, 12.96 dwelling units per acre.
So I hope, Mr. Watkins, that gives you a little bit better of an idea of what could be built here if it was changed to R3B. It wouldn't be anything, as far as like office use or anything like that.
And I believe from our discussion, setbacks and height requirements are identical to R1B as well, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. There
Wouldn't be anything taller built, and the setbacks would be identical if it was a single-family home.
That's correct.
Okay, if there are no other questions, we will close the public hearing and entertain either discussion or motion.
I'll throw a point out for discussion really quickly. I feel like I kind of pulled in both directions on this, just because I feel like the approval of the construction of Warren Road early on in the preliminary plat, obviously that was a deal with the developer with the intent that this would be used somehow, not R1. It would appear that when this was initially done, they were going to reconstruct Warren Road, and this lot was always kind of off on its own, at least in my mind. So I wish this just would have been addressed initially, and we could have avoided all this because neighbors would have had notice what was going there, and the zoning would have made sense. So I feel like I kind of have that going, and then also the fact that the neighbors, because it wasn't R3, are now kind of having this change on them after purchasing houses. They may have bought lots other places, so I can kind of see from the residents' point of view and the developer's point of view that why this is being done the way it is. So I kind of am pulled in both directions on this one. I don't know how everyone else is feeling. There wasn't as much discussion at the work session. I would almost be, I don't know how I would vote right now without, I think, more discussions or ideas. I'd be curious to hear what other people are thinking.
I'm of the same intuition. After hearing the discussion out here, I'm a little torn with my vote, but are we able to, we wouldn't be able to break this proposal up?
I think, Janessa, I think we could do a motion for a continuance.
Okay.
To give some time for property manager / development company to maybe meet with or communicate more information to the HOA, and or get questions answered, whatever the case is, and we could potentially pick it up in our June meeting.
I would be comfortable with that.
If continuance is where we want to go, do we need to reopen the public hearing? Do we leave that open for a continuance? Okay.
Yeah. Yep, that one.
I'm certainly comfortable with that.
Okay, I will reopen the public hearing. And do we need to entertain a motion for continuance?
I move to continue this to our June meeting.
I second.
We have a motion by Mr. Vickers, a second by Ms. Givens. Please poll the commission.
Embry?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Ingram?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes.
And I believe you said, but I just want to verify that June 24th would be that meeting date.
Yes.
For item Z-25-25, what is city staff's recommendation?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a public hearing from Jacob Bell and Corey Smith of Walker Partners on behalf of John Passavant of Harris Creek Baptist Church on a request to change the land use designation and zoning on property known as 27501 West Highway 84, property ID 413960 as follows. 1, change the land use designation from suburban residential to office industrial flex for approximately 46.30 acres according to the deed to Harris Creek Baptist Church recorded under McLennan County Clerk's document 2022-048358 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas. And 2, rezone from R1B single-family residence to O2 office residence for an approximate 27.97 acre tract of land situated within the 46.30 acre tract described in 1 above. And 3, rezone from R1B single-family residence to C2 commercial, community commercial for an approximate 18.33 acre tract of land situated within the 46.3 acre tract described in 1 above. Said property being approximately 600 feet east of the intersection of West Highway 84 and Southwest Boulevard, or excuse me, and Sunwest Boulevard. Staff mailed out 35 notices and received 0 return at the time of report preparation. Planning Services recommends approval of this request to change the land use plan of approximately 46.30 acres from suburban residential to office industrial flex based on the following findings. 1, the public infrastructure is adequate to provide for zoning districts allowed in the proposed office industrial flex land use designation. 2, office industrial flex designation is consistent with the surrounding land uses and other area properties that are already designated as office industrial flex. Planning Services recommends approval of this request to change the zoning of approximately 18.33 acres from R1B to C2 and approximately 27.97 acres from R1B to O2 based on the following findings. 1, the proposed zoning is in keeping with the land use component of the comprehensive plan as recommended to be revised. 2, the public infrastructure is generally adequate to provide for uses allowed in the C2 and O2 zoning districts, including the road systems consisting of a collector street, stage line drive, that provides access to the property. 3, the property meets all area and width requirements for the C2 and O2 zoning districts. 4, the proposed C2 and O2 zoning is compatible with the surrounding office and commercial uses along a major thoroughfare, Highway 84.
Mr. Chair, if I can clarify that we did receive one comment. It wasn't really for or against. It was just stating that they would attend and they have questions regarding the uses.
Thank you. Is the applicant or their representative here to speak on behalf of this item?
Good evening, Commissioners and staff. My name is Jacob Bell with Walker Partners. We're representing Harris Creek Baptist Church, who's bringing this zoning case. John Passavant, the executive pastor, is here with us. If you have any questions that pertain to him, he'd be glad to come, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that y'all may have. Pretty simple. The church does not have any firm plans right now for this property. They have looked at expanding their facilities across stage line into this property, and they're in the process of doing some master planning work, but there is nothing firm. And so the idea is to maintain maximum flexibility for them in the future, that the Highway 84 corridor was the last item mentioned. It makes a lot of sense to have commercial frontage along there. And there was nothing, no rocket science to it. On the far east end, there's kind of a triangular tip. And we picked the depth of that and we brought it across. And it happened to be 336 feet, which is a pretty good commercial depth for commercial frontage. And then the rest is O2. So it could be that the church in the future expands all the way to 84. It could be that they expand a little bit and some of it sells off as commercial. This just maximizes some flexibility for the future. Any questions for me?
Maybe a quick one you can answer for me. I think in our work session, we discussed this quite a bit. I think the C3 along the frontage road makes a lot of sense on the replat. What was the thinking behind O2 versus, if you're master planning now, why not wait to rezone that when maybe there's more of an idea of what might be done? Was there some thinking behind that?
I think really to max, and I'll let Pastor Passavant speak if he wants to about this. But the idea was to get some of it to be commercial to maintain some flexibility, but don't take that all the way into the neighborhood. And so it was kind of working from both directions, right? Going across stage line, if the church expanded, the O2 made a lot of sense, but keeping some for commercial use. And it was just picking something that seemed like a nice cutoff, as I mentioned earlier.
Any other questions? Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of this item? Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Okay, hearing none, we will close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr.
Take
Chair,
all three at once, or do we take
yeah.
the land use, we do land use and zoning all at once, or do we need to split for voting purposes?
It could be one.
Okay. Okay, then I'll move for approval on the land use and the rezone.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Vickers. Please poll the commission.
Embry?
Yes.
Givens?
Yes.
Ingram?
Yes.
Lane?
Yes.
Salome?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
Cole?
Yes. Moving on to our honorary street naming items, ST-25-1. What is city staff's recommendation?
Sorry about that. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a public hearing on a request for the honorary street naming of a portion of South 29th Street between Dutton Avenue and Spate Avenue as Ernesto Fraga Street. Multiple properties are addressed off of this section of 29th Street within the proposed renaming area. So by utilizing the honorary street naming process, the official name of the street will remain as South 29th Street. Legal addresses will not change. Additional street signs will be added to the existing signage to indicate the honorary street name of Ernesto Fraga Street. Planning Services mailed out 90 notices and had one comment returned in opposition. Planning Services recommends approval of the honorary street naming of a portion of 29th Street between Dutton Avenue and Spate Avenue as Ernesto Fraga Street.
Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to speak on behalf of this item? Anyone here that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve based on the staff recommendation.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Lane, a second by Ms. Givens. Please poll the commission.
Embry,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Ingram,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Salome,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes. Moving on to our street closure item, SC-25-1. What is city staff's recommendation?
Sorry, I didn't do up a sheet for this. The City of Waco, in conjunction with Creative Waco and City Center Waco, is requesting the street closure of 7th Street from Austin Avenue to the alley midway between Austin Avenue and Franklin Avenue for the purpose of developing the 7th Street Plaza. Just to clarify, a street closure is different than an abandonment, in which the city, in this case as a closure, will retain the right-of-way within the area. However, the street will be officially closed for traffic use. It already has been temporarily closed, so other than updating the plaza, there won't be any change in what's there now. So upon review, city staff does recommend approval of the street closure of 7th Street between Austin Avenue and an alley, provided all fire department regulations are met, based on the following: that it is not required for proper traffic for emergency vehicle access to that area.
Thank you. Are there any representatives that would like to speak on behalf of this item? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move to recommend approval.
A second.
A motion by Mr. Embry, second by Ms. Givens. Please poll the commission.
Embry,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Ingram,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Salome,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes. Moving on to our ordinance amendment, what is city staff's recommendation?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is a public hearing on a request by the City of Waco to consider ordinance amendments to various sections in Appendix B subdivisions of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco, Texas, by the following: adding, removing, and updating definitions, updating the preliminary plat approval process to allow for administrative approval of minor conditions, removing and updating specific design requirements for streets, utilities, and drainage, providing a definition for and providing reference to adopted guiding documents, removing and updating plat requirements relating to on-site sewage facilities, adding or updating document titles throughout the ordinance as necessary, and requirements for subdivision performance guarantees. Staff recommends approval of these amendments.
Thank you. Is there anyone here that would like to speak on behalf of this item? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this item? Okay, hearing none, we will close the public hearing and invite Mr. Lane to make his final motion.
I move to approve the ordinance amendment based on the staff recommendation.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Lane, a second by Mr. Smith. Please poll the commission.
Embry,
Yes.
Givens,
Yes.
Ingram,
Yes.
Lane,
Yes.
Salome,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yeah.
Cole,
Yes. And before we adjourn tonight, we will acknowledge Mr. Gavin Lane's commitment to the Plan Commission. He's leaving us for Lorena, unfortunately, but we've all loved having him. Any last comments?
Thanks for letting me serve and for your hard work in developing Waco. I appreciate each one of you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will adjourn the meeting.